Hey MVPs, Rico Knows here. Going to talk to you guys about the win totals for 2024. It's a futures bet. It's one you need to make now. Jump on it, and we'll go from there. If you haven't looked, there is a playlist for this. It's 2024 futures bets. You can see it on Patreon or YouTube, as long as you're an MVP, and you'll see me breaking down every single team. I give you guys advanced information on the roster, transfer portal moves, everything, and I've done every single team in the ACC. This is my final team in the ACC. Shout out to Wake Forest, and then we're going to start attacking the Big 10, SEC, Big 12, and then Independence. And as you guys know, I will eventually get to the group of 5 teams, but as of right now, these are the only teams they've released as far as win totals go. I'm going to try to do at least one a day. Hopefully you guys can get a jump on it, get your money in early, and like a tax return, we'll collect it all at the end of the season, and hopefully you win a ton of money. So I do have a chart for this. If you're looking at Wake Forest, the over is 4.5 wins. Are they going to win 4 or 5 games in the regular season? Let's find out. So last year in the regular season, they didn't make it to a bowl game. You see it here. They ended up winning 4 games. So they went 4-8 last year, 1-7 in the ACC. They were one of the worst, and they ended the season on a 5-game losing streak. 5-game losing streak, which is crazy because Syracuse didn't even have a quarterback, right? Syracuse was playing that game with a tight end at quarterback. It's insane what they were doing. So you see it here. Wake Forest beat Elon Phoenix. Elon beating an FCS level team, not impressive. And the way they did it was not impressive. I was not impressed with this. Beating Vanderbilt, what else is new? Beating ODU by 3. Then losing to Georgia Tech, getting a bye week, almost being prepared to beat Clemson. Didn't happen. Didn't happen against Virginia Tech. Found a way to beat Pitt. Remarkable. And then you have it here. Losing to Florida State, Duke, NC State, Notre Dame, and Syracuse. And that Notre Dame loss was really ugly, 45-7. Wake Forest just doesn't look like a good team. I believe in their head coach. Shout out to Dave Clawson. I believe in him a lot. I think he's a good coach. But you can't overcome the talent discrepancy or deficiency there, right? There's just a lot of talent missing at Wake Forest. Yes, Sam Hartman left. Yes, their star wide receiver left last year or 2 years ago now. And it's just one of those things where it's hard to pick up where you left off. You just don't have the players. So looking at the results from last season, they tried to find a new quarterback. Mitch Griffis, his younger brother, transferred out. He transferred to JMU. They thought, okay, well, we're going to let Mitch be the starting quarterback. That didn't work out. He was injured and bad injuries, and then he eventually lost his starting job. Michael Kern comes in. Michael Kern gets injured. They let Griffis come back. The guy can't take care of the ball. 9 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Not good. Completing less than 60% of his passes. They don't have a quarterback. Mitch Griffis, this was last year, right? Mitch Griffis is not him. He actually hit the portal and he's gone. I believe he's at Marshall. I'll double check that when we look at the transfers here. But Mitch Griffis won't start there either. He's just not a starting quarterback, starting caliber quarterback right now. He's not built like that. And neither is Michael Kern. Santonio Marucci, gone as well. Nobody else to talk about. Running backs, Damon Claiborne, very good running back. Like him a lot. Straight up, there's nothing else to say. I like Claiborne. I think he's good. I don't think he's like 1,000 yards good, but he's definitely a good, talented player. Justin Ellison hit the transfer portal. He's gone, went to Indiana. We'll talk about it. Tate Carney. Guys, don't sleep on Tate Carney. Tate Carney has an older brother who used to be a team captain for like 2 years, and he was a good running back. I think he rushed for 1,000 yards. But Tate Carney's got an older brother. Forgetting his first name right now. It escapes me, but it'll come to me. But Carney's a beast. Young man. I think he plays well. I like Carney a lot. Rest of these guys leave a lot to be desired. David Egby will be the third string running back. And then everybody else is kind of gone. No big deal. Receivers. Jamal Banks hit the transfer portal. He's going to Nebraska. So he's gone. Taylor Morin is a good wide receiver, quality kid, a good punt returner as well. He's been at Wake Forest the whole time. And I will say that although some of these guys are good, they just can't carry you to victory. He's 5'10", 170 pounds. So is Keshawn Williams. These guys are just small. Nothing to write home about. Wesley Grimes, don't believe the hype. Wesley Grimes had 2 touchdowns in the final game of the season against Syracuse. He had a breakout game. And he took that and he springboarded to the transfer portal, and he's now at NC State, I believe. He's gone. Cameron Height is still here. Justin Ellison, like I said, left to Indiana. I love Horatio Fields. Don't mess with Horatio Fields. This man is big. He is the guy that's going to be their mismatch that you need to find. The problem is they don't throw him the ball, and he don't get a lot of playing time. This is a good hurdler in high school. He and I share the same birthday, and we share the same hurdling events. And shout out to the Jaguars. That's where he played high school out here in Georgia. So I know it well. I know his high school team well. I know everything he did in high school. I like the young man. It's just going to be tough to make the starting lineup. Something that's underrated about Wake Forest. Their kicker is terrible. Matthew Dennis is not a good kicker. Missed an extra point, missed a ton of field goals. Very shaky over 40 yards. Even worse, over 30. Like, this guy's not it, bro. He's not it as a kicker. Once he started missing, he never stopped. Bad kicker. Linebackers, I'll say this. I really like Dylan. Dylan, he's coming back next year. He's their leading tackler. Dylan's good, but he was not the best player on this team. The best player on this defense was Jacob Roberts. He was a transfer from an HBCU. Jacob Roberts was an HBCU All-American, wanted to prove that he could play at the highest level. He's one of my favorite players in the NFL draft this year. I believe I have him on my linebackers list for top draft picks. Let me double check that. Don't want to lie to you guys. I should. Yeah, if you guys look here. For the NFL draft, Jacob Roberts is right up here. This is my favorites in the top 5. So there's Jacob Roberts up here. I really like him as a linebacker. I like him in the draft. He's not in my top 10. He's in my top 5 favorite players. That's just the way I do things. But nonetheless, losing Jacob Roberts is going to hurt. They've got a lot of good defenders, though. They do. They have a decent amount of defenders coming back that I respect. None more than Jasheen Davis. Jasheen Davis is a complete monster. Back-to-back years of 7 or more sacks. I think he's a problem. I think he's a difference maker. I think it's awesome that they have him. But no matter how much defense you have, their offense is just atrocious, bro. But shout out to Wake Forest. So, looking at their starting lineup here, like I told you guys, I like Horatio Fields coming into his own. I like Taylor Morin. They're both quality wide receivers. The rest of these guys don't really move me. Merrill Walker here is a transfer from, I should say Walker Merrill. Transfer from Tennessee. Never really been that guy, so it doesn't move me all that much. Linemen, they're okay. Their offensive line's okay, not great. Tight end, just returning starter. And then they got Hank Bachmeier coming in the transfer portal. If you're excited about Hank Bachmeier, former starting quarterback from La Tech. Before that, he was the starting quarterback at Boise State. If you think he's great, he's not. Go watch the tape. There's just things he doesn't do well. Obviously, Michael Kern's still the backup again. I told you I like Claiborne and I like Tate Carney. Both these running backs are cool. 1-2 punch I really enjoy. I told you Jasheen Davis is the guy. On defense, that's an NFL defensive lineman, total stud. Bryce Gaines, very underwhelming transfer from last year, transferred 2 years ago now. None of these guys really move me. Brandon Combs, I'm going to make a video about him on TikTok for sure. Brandon Combs, former wide receiver at Southern Illinois. Shout out to the Salukis. And he moved after his freshman year. He moved to linebacker. And the dude's got coverage skills because he's a wide receiver. He's an athletic linebacker. I think he's got a really good future. I like that kid a lot. So shout out to Brandon Combs. I'll eventually get around to making this video. Hazen coming back. That is the team's leading tackler. No surprise there. Capone Blue coming over from Kent State. Doesn't really move me, but I liked his name. Everybody else is fine. What I'm going to tell you is Wake Forest defensively, good players. Very good. I'd say solid starting 11. No real depth. And you want depth at the collegiate level. Everybody on defense rotates. There is no such thing as an every down player on defense in college football. If you've ever looked at a box score and you look at how many tackles are made in each game, just look at how many players make a tackle in a game. It's a lot. And that's because defensive linemen rotate, linebackers rotate, your secondary rotates. The only position groups that don't rotate are offensive linemen and quarterback. So you need depth everywhere else. And Wake Forest does not have depth. At least not from what I've seen. But they do have a ton of good starters. I like their defense. That's not going to win you a ton of games, but it's respectable. Now, looking at the transfer portal, who have they have coming in? They got 5 players coming in. Like I told you, doesn't really move me. Some of these low-budget guys they're bringing in, like Keegan Trost coming in from Indiana State. Capone Blue coming in. I'm sure it meets a need. Capone Blue looks good. Like, he's 6'3", 170. He looks the part. But it's just, are you going to win in the ACC with that? This is the most intriguing transfer to me. Branson Combs, he was once a star wide receiver out of the state of Indiana. Then he goes, plays at Southern Illinois, and starts balling out. They move him from wide receiver to linebacker because he's 6'3", 222. That doesn't sound like a real wide receiver, and he doesn't have that breakaway speed, but he's pretty damn good. They found a starting quarterback in the portal. It's Hank Bachmeier, bro. That's all I got to say about that. So I'm not too intrigued by that. Now, the transfers departing, nothing too great. Yes, Jamal Banks is a good wide receiver leaving in Nebraska, but they weren't throwing to wide receivers anyways. Their offense is very underwhelming. Justin Ellison, the second leading rusher, going to Indiana. I don't know why he's going there. I don't think he's going to start. That's on him. And then Wesley Grimes leaving, going to NC State. Like I said, don't believe the hype. 2 touchdowns in the final game of the season. Not much the rest of the way. Everybody else is inconsequential. Not a big deal. Shout out to On3 for telling me that Mauricio's a running back when he's really a quarterback, but that's a whole nother conversation. So, how many games is Wake Forest going to win next year? The over-under is 4.5. I have them beating North Carolina A&T to start the season. I think they beat them handily, okay? So they're going to beat North Carolina A&T. By the way, take North Carolina A&T's team total under in that first game. When the line finally opens, you guys will see North Carolina A&T will not be able to score on Wake Forest. Wake Forest defense is good. It is good. Believe me. Virginia's got more upside than Wake Forest, especially on the offensive side of the ball. I've already broken them down completely. I think if I have to choose a winner in this game, I'm picking Virginia. But if you want to pick Wake Forest to win this game, by all means, you can do that. That gives you 2 wins right now for Wake Forest. They're not beating Ole Miss. They're going to beat Louisiana if you think they are. They're going to beat the Raging Cajun. That's 3 wins. They're not beating NC State or Clemson. They're beating UConn. That's 4 wins. They cannot keep up with Stanford or Cal. Nope. Stanford and Cal got real offenses. They're going to score like crazy and beat them. And then you've got North Carolina, Miami, and Duke. I think they should beat Duke. So, for me, I have them beating Duke, have them beating UConn, Louisiana, and North Carolina A&T. I have them winning 4 games. If you think they're going to split with Stanford or Cal, here's what I'm going to tell you. Stanford, they got to go on the road to play Stanford. They're going to fly across the whole damn country, and I don't know how that works. That's going to be back-to-back road games. 1 game at UConn, 1 game at Stanford. I don't buy it. But if you think they're beating Stanford, more power to you. I just don't see it. So I think a lot of ACC teams are going to get woken up by Stanford and Cal's pedigree of football. I think they play really good football, especially on the offensive side of the ball. So for me, I have Wake Forest winning 4 games at best. 4 games. So when you go look at that over-under of 4.5, this is when we say we're taking the under 4.5 wins. You see it over here. The under, I put it 2 units. I'm actually putting a lock on this, meaning you should really believe in it. Now, we're going to keep track of our locks, our bets, and our spreads, just like we do in the UFC. But this is the whole chart for the ACC. So now you can see all the teams. The only teams on here that are not in the ACC are obviously Colorado, Alabama, and Vanderbilt. I've already done their over and unders. Go back and watch those videos. This one right here needs to be bet like you wouldn't believe. I need to put that in a different color so everybody understands. I don't know what color to make it so you guys make that bet more so than others. I can just tell you that this is the one I believe in all day, that we should be all jumping on before they change the line, okay? Because I believe they're going to win at least 3 games. So there's that. But everything else, go watch the videos. Enjoy. I hope you guys learned something about every single team. Your friends don't know, but Rico knows. Peace, y'all.